Hey guys, welcome back to Dusty Toys. In this video we're going to go over my favourite handheld of all time, the Nintendo 3DS. In 1989, Nintendo came out with the Game Boy, possibly the most revolutionary console in the entirety of the gaming industry, or at least the most famous one. If you hear the word Nintendo, you probably think of the Game Boy. The reasoning for that is that it was one of the most successful consoles at the time, and still is one of the most successful consoles ever. It released with Tetris, one of the most popular games ever. It came at a cheaper price compared to their competitors. Sega, with their Game Gear, was at a much higher price than the Atari Lynx. Well, after the Atari 2600, what else were you going to buy from Atari? But it's not a perfect console. It doesn't have a backlight, so you can't see it in the dark, and the screen isn't very good anymore. It's a weird green and yellow greyish colour. It's also quite unreliable these days. Today there is not much reason to buy an original Game Boy. If you really want to play Game Boy games on an original Nintendo handheld, there are much better ways to do it. Game Boy Pocket is a smaller version that uses less batteries. The original Game Boy uses 4 AA. For the same battery life, the Game Boy Pocket uses 2 AA batteries. The Game Boy Color puts a colour palette onto original Game Boy games, which were just in black and white, and can play all the original Game Boy games on top of its own library. But the best Game Boy, in my opinion, has to be the Game Boy Advance, mainly the Game Boy Advanced SP. Reasoning for that? Well, it is actually more powerful than a Super Nintendo, being a 32-bit console instead of a 16-bit. This means this smaller handheld can even play games like Super Mario World. It is also completely backwards compatible with all Game Boy games. On top of its own library, it also has a backlight and a rechargeable battery for the first time. It is the best Game Boy by far. It is also the first to use the iconic clamshell design that was followed over into the DS. Still today the most successful handheld ever, selling close to 152 million units. It is in second place only to the PlayStation 2. Now, DS actually stands for dual screen, which you can see here, and the reason it sold so well is for many reasons. Obviously the dual screen, the just portability of it, the family type nature of it. It also released with a full 3D port of Super Mario 64 with extra content. It came with 30 extra stars, 3 new characters, and a couple of new stages. Then today we have the Nintendo Switch, but I've missed one here. The 3DS. This is a bit of a mixed handheld, unlike the Game Boy line where it was absolutely successful throughout the whole life, unlike the DS where, you know, everyone had to have one. This sort of sits in the middle. It wasn't completely as successful as Nintendo had hoped, but it was still very successful. Before we talk about what was wrong with this console, let's talk about what they improved on this over the DS. So here they are. This is a Nintendo 3DS XL, specifically the blue one. And then this is a white DS Lite. So having a look at the DS, clearly you can see two screens. One is a touch screen. You have quite soft, nice buttons. Closing it goes into sleep mode. This, as I said, is a touch screen down here at the bottom. And at the side, we have a stylus. So here we are in PictoChat, so you can use the dual screen. Like so. Now, one of the problems with the original 2DSs, the DS and DS Lite, is that once you're in an application, you can't exit it. So you have to reset the entire console. This is really, really annoying. Even when you just take out a cartridge, the whole system just freezes and you can't do anything. This was improved with the DSi and the DSi XL and the 3DS XL, or the 3DS and the 3DS XL. No. This was improved with on the DSi, DSi XL, and the Nintendo 3DS, because they all had a home screen, so you could select what application you wanted. Let's say Super Mario 3D Land. If you were in it, you could suspend the software by pressing a home button down at the bottom and then just closing the software. You can also remove cartridges and change them out for a different one. This system also added a semi-joystick. It's more of a touchpad. This is much better for 3D games because you have the full 360-degree movement instead of the 8 directions you got on a D-pad. You do still have a D-pad for the 2D games. Obviously still an A, X, Y and B button, and obviously still L and R buttons at the top. Now, one thing that makes this practically irrelevant is that every DS game can be played on this console. It also makes it better for those 3D games like Super Mario 64 DS because you have more directions or it's easier to move in directions with the circle pad. Obviously, it still retains the sleep function. You still have the stylus out on the side, so there is still a touchscreen. But this also had an internet browser and the eShop, which is closed. Virtual Shop on a Nintendo handheld wasn't the first on the 3DS, but it was much better on the 3DS. On the DSi, you couldn't buy games like Super Mario 64 DS. You could buy DSiWare games, which were smaller games. On the 3DS, you could buy full-fledged full games like Super Mario 3D Land. Sadly, it was closed in April this year. But at the beginning, you heard me say this was a mix of successful but not successful at the same time. Why was that? And also, why is it called 3DS if it's the second in the DS family? If you look up here, you can see a slider. When you push this up, it doesn't work on camera, but it changes this to 3D. This means if you get the angle right, you are able to get a 3D effect. The problem with this is that, number one, it made this console very, very expensive, meaning not many people bought it. Second, it didn't really work. You had to get it at the perfect angle, and it gave a lot of people headaches and nausea. Along with an underwhelming launch of games like Pilot Wings Resort and Street Fighter, there wasn't much reason to buy this console. But later on in the year or the year after, it got a price cut, and then you got more models and more games for the system. It did gain some traction and really did become a successful handheld. It is my favourite handheld from Nintendo and my favourite handheld of all time. Later on, obviously, we did get the Switch, which combined home console and handheld, which is the most successful Nintendo console of all time. I believe it sold about 148 million units. And I'm really excited for Switch 2. But now let's have a little look at the games. Now, although the 3DS is a more powerful console than the DS, they both come on the exact same type of cartridge, except this bit. This bit is really, it's only to stop you from putting it into a DS. And then apart from that, they are just different colours, and that is the only difference in cartridges. Super Mario 3D Land was the big 3D game for the 3DS. But today, it's a bit underwhelming. It sort of feels like what Super Mario 64 was meant to be. It's the 2D games put into 3D. It is a technically open world game, but it's very linear, which is very different from the previous 3D Mario games, where you had to explore and complete missions to get stars. In this game, you just have to get to the end of the level and get to the flagpole like in Mario 1 and the new Super Mario games, which is a bit underwhelming. Combined with the fact that Super Mario 3D World came out later on, within a couple of years, which was the same thing, just better graphics and different, overall just better. Super Mario 3D Land, there isn't much of a reason to go back and play it. I actually really enjoy the game and think it is quite underrated. I think if you just want a quick, fun 3D Mario game, it's perfect for that. It really didn't add anything new to the Mario series though. It brought back the Tanuki tail from Mario 3, but you can't fly around in it like in that game. You can hover, which works much better in a 3D environment. A lot of the music, sound effects and assets are just reused over from Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, which does make it a bit bland at some points. But if you have a 3DS, this is definitely one of the must-haves. I think it is very underrated and is still a fun game, even when Mario 3D World is out on the Wii U and Switch. I love the Mario Kart series. Apart from my Game Boy Advance, I have it on all my Nintendo consoles, and clearly the 3DS is no different. Mario Kart 7 was the mainline Mario Kart on this system, and a lot of people describe it much like Super Mario 3D World, bland and unoriginal. At the time, it was revolutionary for the Mario Kart series. It added gliders and the ability to drive around underwater. This added a whole lot more to the tracks, being able to take new shortcuts. It also added more strategy to how you played the game. With the glider, you could fly around in the air longer to get further in distance-wise, or you could go straight down to get a bit of a speed boost. The character roster is a bit odd. It has characters like the Bee Queen from Mario Galaxy, but the main ones are here: Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Daisy, Wario, Donkey Kong, Toad, the lot. I have played this game to death. I really, really enjoy it. I'm bored of like all the tracks in it now because of how much I've played them. My favourite cup in the game is the one with Luigi's Mansion and Mushroom Gorge, because it also had online, which from what I heard was pretty good, and you were able to play either online or battle mode on it. But you could play on your own, which you couldn't do in any of the other games. You could play either Balloon Battle or Coin Rush on your own. Tricking was brought over from Mario Kart Wii. In that game, you had to either shake the Wii remote or press up on the D-pad on the GameCube or Classic controller. In this game, you just press the drift button. When you're coming up to a ramp, just press the drift button as you're about to go off or as you're going off it, and you'll do a trick. When you land, you'll get a small speed boost. So yeah, I really, really enjoy Mario Kart 7. It's the most modern Mario Kart I have, and until I get Mario Kart 8 for when I get my Switch, if I get a Switch for Christmas, I'm definitely going to be playing this a lot longer. Next was quite odd at the time. Luigi's Mansion first came out for the GameCube, and it was nothing more than really a tech demo. It showed how the GameCube could do really great lighting and dust effects, but complaints said it was very, very short. And for some reason, Nintendo thought, let's revive this series on the 3DS. This game is not really fitting for this console. On the original GameCube, it was praised for having dual stick movement, where you could aim with the C stick and move around with the left stick. But on this 3DS, one of the complaints is that it only has one joystick. So instead, you have to use the gyro in this console. Apart from that, I personally don't have any complaints about it. I think going to different mansions instead of just going to one mansion is really fun. Doing missions is pretty good for a handheld. And I don't think their art style is too terrible. Luckily, because of the success of this game, we got Luigi's Mansion 3, which some say is the best Luigi's Mansion game we have. That came out for the Switch and returned to the dual stick movement. It did keep the sort of cartoony art style, but I think that works much better for Luigi's Mansion than the more realistic lighting and dust effects from the original. You get to explore a normal mansion, a frozen cave/mine, a tree. It is a really, really fun game. It's basically Ghostbusters, but the Mushroom Kingdom. If you have a 3DS, I'd say this is a must-play. If not, you can get the HD port to the Switch. I think I enjoyed this more than Super Mario 3D Land, seeing as the camera was closer to the character, and I really enjoyed some of the puzzles in the game. Now we're going to move on to a game that could have been so much better and could have fit on the 3DS so well, but one of the biggest gimmicks in the game, I guess, just wasn't ported over to the 3DS for some reason. This game is Super Mario Maker for 3DS. That big gimmick missing I was talking about is the ability to share your levels online. That just wasn't in the game. You could share them over local play, but I don't know anyone with a 3DS and nor this game, so I've never been able to experience that. The only levels you can play in the game are pre-built Nintendo ones. The actual Mario Maker is still Mario Maker. You can use the touchscreen on the 3DS, much like you can use the touchscreen on the Wii U. You do have to unlock all the assets like in the Wii U game, but there is no shortcut around that like in the Wii U game. There are 4 different styles: Super Mario 1, Super Mario 3, Super Mario World, and New Super Mario Bros. The New Super Mario Bros. Game theme doesn't look very good. It looks very pixelated, which is very odd, seeing as New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS looks pretty good. Apart from that, there's really not much to say about this game. There's other themes for the levels like airship and ground and underground and castle, but that's about it. It's a fun game, but I wouldn't say I'd recommend it. If you're not into making levels, then there's really not much you can do in this game. If you really only want to play levels other people have built, buy Mario Maker 1 on the Wii U or Mario Maker 2 on the Switch. Next is actually a port from the 3DS from the Wii, which is very strange. I believe it's the only port from the Wii to the 3DS. That game is Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. I love this game. It's quite a difficult 2D platformer actually. There's no like puzzles in it, but some of the platforming can be very, very difficult. Now, because this is on the 3DS, a less powerful system compared to the Wii, it does look a bit more pixelated, but if you're going to buy either of them, definitely get the 3DS version. It doesn't have forced motion controls, instead it has obviously button controls, it has extra levels, and is just overall a better game. Now, if you have a Switch, however, wait until like January or February when Donkey Kong Country Returns HD comes out. That is going to be the ultimate version to play this game. Originally starting out on the SNES, Donkey Kong Country bounced from developer Rare, who was bought by Microsoft in the early 2000s, over to Retro Studios, who made the Metroid Prime series. I think they have done a really good job. I much prefer this over the original Donkey Kong Country games. They did do a sequel to this as well, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, on the Switch and Wii U, which, if you enjoy this game, I'd definitely recommend that as well. Now I'm just going to move on to the last 3 games, LEGO games. The first of the 3 LEGO games is the LEGO Movie, the video game. This is at isometric view, unlike the home console version. And it's an okay game. The levels are very short, the achievements are mediocre at best. It's not really a very fun game. I wouldn't really recommend this game, and there's not much I can say about it. The worst part is that if you die, you go back right to the beginning of the level. There are no checkpoints. It doesn't really feel like a LEGO game, to be honest. Next, LEGO City Undercover: The Chase Begins. This is a prequel to the Wii U game. Now, the only reason I bought this is because it has an open world on the 3DS, which I thought was pretty impressive. People have described this game, or at least the Wii U counterpart, as LEGO GTA, where you're a police officer and you just go around stopping crimes. But the open world isn't really that open. It's split up into different chunks, and the loading times in this game are absurd, sometimes taking upwards of 2 minutes. That really stops the feeling of an open world game, so I couldn't recommend this. However, if you're looking for a good LEGO game on the 3DS and an open world LEGO game on 3DS, LEGO Marvel Avengers is that exact game. You have a wide variety of different characters you can pick from. There is a big, well, I wouldn't say big, but you can fly around Manhattan or walk around Manhattan as any of the Avengers. There are quite a few levels. It would take you about a day or 2 to complete the game, and there are a lot of achievements to unlock and different characters. This game is really good, and it feels like it's using the 3DS to its best of capabilities. The open world is quite impressive, and I really enjoy flying around it and trying to get more studs because I am obsessed with trying to get them. And that is actually it for my 3DS games. I only have 8 3DS games. And since my birthday, from 2021, when I got my Nintendo 3DS XL, I've only bought about 3 more games for my 3DS. The reasoning for that is that I have some of the best games for this system. I got them all at my birthday and had no need to get more games for it, seeing as I already had all the games I really, really wanted. Since then, I have been playing Metroid and Zelda for the first time ever, so I do want to get games like The Legend of Zelda, Link Between Worlds, and Metroid Samus Returns. But apart from that, there aren't many games I want to get. Super Street Fighter 5, I think it is, I wouldn't mind getting that. Pilot Wings Resort, I wouldn't mind getting that. But apart from that, there's not many games I want to get for this system. I love this system. I think it is the best Nintendo handheld of all time, apart from the Switch. It didn't do much to revolutionize Nintendo handhelds. It just added a joystick. The 3D effect doesn't really work, especially for me, but some of its games I have so many memories connected to, and this is by far my most played video game system. I just have to love it. As you can see, I've added some stickers onto the front. I hate these and I wish I never put them on, but if I peel them off, residue will be left. So now Mario's hand is slightly off, which really angers me. I almost lost my stylus once, but I found it in my grand's purse. Don't know how it got there. And it's been everywhere with me, from here to my grandparents, to my other grandparents, to France, everywhere. I love this system. The rechargeable battery has downgraded a bit for how much I use it. But apart from that, it's doing pretty well. On a trip back from my grandparents, as I got out the car, I did drop it, so there is a chip on some areas and scratches, but that's about it. I really love this console. I got it for my 10th birthday, and I knew I was going to get it. It was an £80 lot of this, a charger, I believe a 4GB SD card, and a stylus for £80 on eBay, which for today is very good. This is quite an expensive console now. And because I knew I was getting this, I bought myself some games. I bought myself, I believe, Super Mario 64 DS and a case for this, because I just knew I was going to get it. I got it from my grandparents, and I just love this thing. And this is the case I was talking about. It's a Legend of Zelda case. You can fit 2 cartridges up there. Here's the space to put the console. And there's quite a lot more room in there, so you can put other cartridges in there. It came with like a Master Sword stylus as well, and this has also been everywhere with me. It's a very nice one. I don't think it's made, well, it's not made of real leather, but it feels like it, and it's a really nice handheld. I ironically got this when I didn't even know or liked Zelda. I just thought it was a very nice case. Now I do like The Legend of Zelda, so hopefully one day A Link Between Worlds will be in this case. It is in pretty good condition. The only problem I have with it is there's no real way to like properly carry it. You can carry it like this, or there's a belt hook, but it just doesn't really work very well. I would like to put it like on my side, but there's no easy way to carry it around unless you put it in a bag. In conclusion, I love the 3DS. It didn't succeed as much as Nintendo wanted it to. It didn't succeed as much as the DS family, but it did get quite a few variants. There was the original 3DS, which was smaller and is by far the worst version of the 3DS. There was the 3DS XL, which is the one I have. The new 3DS XL, which improved the 3D to make it, usable, and added a small nub as a C-stick so you could play games like Minecraft. Yeah, Minecraft on the 3DS exists. There was also the new 3DS XL, which was just a bigger version of the new 3DS. There was a 2DS, which was a 3DS without the 3D and couldn't fold. It was advertised for children because it didn't have 3D, I guess. ironically. It's a bit odd that it was advertised for children and not just like a cheaper version, because removing the clamshell design makes it easier to crack those screens. And finally, in 2017, we got the new 2DS XL, which just added a C-stick and a closable design for the 2DS. And that released after the Nintendo Switch for some reason. Today, I'd either get the new 3DS XL or the new 2DS XL. I definitely wouldn't get any of the non-XL versions because I think they're too small. And getting a 3DS, 3DS XL, and a 2DS isn't as good today. They don't have, one of them doesn't have 3D at all, and the other two just don't have very good 3D. The only reason I got a normal 3DS XL was because I liked where the cartridge and stylus spots were. That's the only reason I got one. So today I would probably get a new 3DS XL. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I was quite shocked at how well my GameCube video performed, so let's see if we can do as good as that, if not better. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.